This lesson is all about speaking, guys. So in a nutshell, I'd like to simplify it as much as possible and show you how easy it really is. So this lesson is all about guess the rhetorical function. Wait, let me open a Word document here. Guess the rhetorical. Oh, what happened to Lot? She disappeared. Talaga si Lot, oh. Parang alam niyang siya yung magiging guinea pig, eh.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, next time I won't say anymore. Yan. Okay. This is a blank doc. Wait. Can you see my screen? No.
Not yet.
Okay. Yan. Can you hear the train?
Yes po.
Ingay, no?
Oh, malapit pala kayo, sir.
Malapit kami sa train line. This is somewhere in Pasay Road.
Oh, I see.
Whenever I hear the train, I'm reminded of a student of mine, si Joel, who is now in the US, no?
Wow.
Yeah, he just sent me a video of him in the US. Like, ano daw, 3 degrees daw at the time. Sabi ko, shit, that's cold. Anyway. Yeah, at the time, he was staying in Santa Mesa.
Oh, Santa Mesa. I used to stay in Santa Mesa before.
Yeah, and then every now and then when we're doing speaking, you will hear a train passing by. Oops, there's a train. Yun, naalala ko siya bigla. And now he's in the States. So this lesson is all about guessing the rhetorical function. Okay. Actually, this is a lesson that is in the Speaking Workshoppers group. Yun, kaya lang I wasn't able to open it in time. I wonder if there's time for us to open that. Never mind. Oh, 2 people are in the waiting room. Who are waiting, baka si Lot na naman. So guys, you might be wondering, what on earth are the questions they ask? No, in the IELTS exam? That's a good question, right? I mean, why do they ask those questions? Yun. Diba? Parang you might think that the questions are arbitrary. So wait, let's write that there. No? Okay. Yeah, the more you get used to it, guys, the better you'll be able to perform. So, okay. Premises. We'll begin with some premises. Okay. The premise is there. Randy, galingan mo, ah.
Sir, it's my first time when it comes to speaking. I haven't had my speaking session yet.
Yeah. No, galingan mo overall, whatever it is. Yung reading, I need it already. Yeah.
I'm not unprepared.
Yeah. So the premises, no, the speaking test utilizes questions that are not accidental. Yes, how nice, no? Parang feeling nyo wait, let me type something else under that. Okay. You might get the idea that it is faulty to think that the examiner is interested in you. There. Do you understand? All right. The truth is, there, every question the examiner throws is meant to test a particular rhetorical function. Yun. So, what are those? So, what are the rhetorical functions therefore? There. So every time we open our mouth, a lot is coming back in. There. Every time we open our mouth to speak, every time we open our mouth to speak, we are performing a particular rhetorical function. Here. So, samples. Oh, people are coming in like crazy, oh. Okay. Like, clarifying. Here. How do you indicate clarifying? Any guesses? What words do you use? Any guesses? People are coming in like crazy. So you will say something like, what I meant to say is there. That's clarifying. Okay. What about, oh, people are coming in like mad. Then like informing. There, like I grew up in a town, in a small town. 5 kilometers away from the city. There. Yun, do you follow? And then, for example, seeking clarification. So when you're clarifying, you are giving the clarification yourself. But when you're seeking clarification, you are seeking clarification. So you say something like, I'd love to answer your question, but could you maybe clarify that for me? Okay, here. That is a rhetorical function. Yung informing itself, no? That can cover a gamut of examples like I had a pet when I was younger, and his name was Junie. What? You named your pet after you? Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Wala nang maiisip na name eh. Kaya Junie na lang. Then maybe comparing, contrasting. Okay. There. Sige nga, samples of comparing, contrasting. Any ideas? On the one hand, dot. Meanwhile, on the other hand, there. Yung comparing, contrasting, or explaining, diba? Expanding, elaborating, expounding. It's the same banana. Okay. That's similar to clarifying, no? To explain further my points there, or what I mean to say is, ganun. Okay. And what if you are, oh, this one is very important, the ability to speculate. Uy, you should have that skill. Sige nga, does anybody know how to speculate? Speculate a response. Anybody? Sige nga, ang dami-dami ninyo. Wala man lang nagsasalita. Oh, lot. Bridge. Randy.
I guess. The word is I guess. I don't know, sir.
I guess.
Speculate.
I would have to say that there. Or I'm not really sure. But mm, I could maybe mm, harbor a guess. Ganun. Nice. Or it's always hard to say what the future will bring. Dot. Di ba? Examiners, they ask you future questions eh. Di ba? Speculative question yun.
Can I use, sir, based on my understanding, parang ganon?
Yeah, based on my understanding, based on my limited knowledge about this topic, that is actually what you just said, Randy, is what you call hedging. No? Di ba? Belittling your opinion.
Yes.
Yun. These are all rhetorical functions. Here. So, based on my limited knowledge on the topic, diba? So, doesn't matter what the examiner asks. You're ready for all of it. Wait. Admittedly, I haven't read up much on this issue. So I might just have to say that dot. But please don't take me too seriously. Ang galing. Diba, guys? You can talk to anybody. You can talk to the president of the United States. You can talk to Vladimir Putin. Diba? And you say, Mr. Madman. Admittedly, I haven't read up much on this issue, so I might just have to say that blah blah blah. But please don't take me too seriously. Do you understand? These are all rhetorical functions. What else? Like listing, very basic. Firstly, there. Dot. Secondly, and then a third reason is dot. Finally, dot. Every question is meant to test any one of those. Wait. What about narrating, of course? That's part two, right? Part two, the speaking test. So it's a range of phrases, no? I'm about to tell you about a story involving a friend of mine. There, dot. And then papasok na yung mga narrative markers. Like first, to begin with, it's just like this thing, right? To begin with, what happened next is uh etc. You know what I mean. Okay. Anything else? Okay. That's the one. Okay. Those system resources may affect your video quality. Guys, I will open a document. I should have opened this earlier. So I actually have this in a lecture handout. Okay, so let's browse that. Let's go into there. So again, this was a lecture I had. It's in the Speaking Workshoppers group. Okay. Maybe I will just snip it for you so that you could watch that lecture. But essentially, we were talking about the same things. Okay. Then I will open just this document, linguistics, and then TRF, the rhetorical functions. So there. So as that's opening, guys, let me remind you, please do not assume, do not make the assumption that the examiner is interested in you. The truth is, the examiner is throwing questions in order to test particular rhetorical functions. Is that clear? This is the document. So for part one, of course, we know that part one is all about your life, right? So the rhetorical function is providing information. Just make sure that the information is thorough, it's complete, it's clear, right? Make sure that the tensing is sound because you're talking about work or education, family, the ubiquitous hometown question, hobbies, any of your lifestyles, and that's practically anything under the sun. Like, do you like coffee? Do you like watching movies? Do you like going to the park? Do you like riding a bicycle? Do you like watching TV? And then the examiner is gonna go back to the past, like when you were younger. What kind of TV programs did you watch? All of that is just providing information. Watch out for your tenses. Sometimes nasa task part 1 pa lang, tapos na eh. 6.5 na, all the tensing was wrong. There, no? Why IELTS? So this has something to do with your future plans. So why are you taking the IELTS exam? And so of course the tensing is gonna shift into the future. I'm taking the IELTS exam because I would like to um work abroad and realize my dreams of uh, earning money that I would never earn in my own country, something like that. Okay. So script your responses to all of those script. All right. Script. Get ready, get ready. Okay. Watch out for the tenses. All of that is providing information. Okay. Any questions so far before we go on? Am I making sense? And then later, let's check out Cambridge 3. There, oh. Okay, I think I already demonstrated this question type, so let's go into another test later. Any questions so far? Later, let's do that. The rhetorical functions. Part 2. So narration. That's the rhetorical function of narrating. There. So you got to use a lot of those markers. What happened next? Their narration. And before that, in the end, there. It's not really very hard, guys, because the markers are already in the questions themselves. For example, here, C, there. Then, I'd like to tell you about a film or a TV program which made a strong impression on me. First of all, this movie is blah 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 blah, and then I saw this movie when I was blah 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 blah. Next, the movie is all about blah 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 blah. And the reason why I mentioned this movie is blah 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 blah. Andun na eh, no? So it kind of makes the narration part easy to comply with because you have the bullets already. How easy is that, right? And then if you run out of time, I mean, if you still have a lot of time left, then go back to the top. Describe another TV program. How easy, right? And then you say, like you notice that the examiner still is like there must be some time left because the examiner is not even reacting. So you go back to the top. Then you say, apart from what I've told you, there's another movie that I would like to narrate. And then you go through everything again. Very easy. It's all in front of you. You can just look at it and answer it directly. Narration. There. Just make sure you're fluent. Fluency, by the way, is defined. Oh, I think it's a very important definition. Okay. Fluency is defined, because you might get the wrong idea. The definition of fluency is a stable rate of speech continuity. So take note, stable does not is not a synonym for fast. It doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be stable. So it's like a regular heartbeat, right? A healthy heartbeat. So you can speak slow, but your rate of speech is stable. It is continuous, right? It doesn't reveal any difficulty. Is that clear? Don't speak fast if you don't have to. There. Okay. Some people really speak fast. I took the IELTS twice. I scored 8.5 in speaking both times. And I think the reason I'm quite sure of it is because I'm such a fast talker. Huh. Should have slowed down a bit. And then watch out for the coherence criterion. And that goes back to the rhetorical function of narration. Watch out for the markers, like what happened next, stuff like that, just to make sure that the listener is able to follow the direction by which your speech is going. And finally, quite a challenge, try to make the story interesting, something that's worth telling. And if there's nothing, then you just come up with whatever it is that you can come up with in order to meet the 2 minute talk time. But in the real world, the reason why we tell stories is because the story is interesting, or it's funny. It teaches a good moral lesson. It's worth telling. Yeah. If there's none, then just do the best you can with whatever boring story that comes to mind. Okay. Narration. Reported speech. Reported speech happens when you put yourself in the shoes of another person, and then you now voice out whatever that person said. So, for example, um, wait, mm, reported speech. So, from the word itself, you are reporting to other people what another person said. So, I saw my friend walking down the street, and he catches a glimpse of me there. We see limang exam na to eh. He catches a glimpse of me, and he hollers, "What's up, dude?" That is reported speech there. And then, so I shouted back, mm, "Nothing special, man." There, that is reported speech. Mm, Everything's cool. There. As you're narrating, you are quoting whatever a person says. That is reported speech. That happens in part two. Okay. So the thing about reported speech is you assume the person who you're quoting. So for example, you're talking about your friend. So I was walking down the street and he catches a glimpse of me and he hollers, "What's up, dude?" Suddenly you are your friend. You now quote your friend. You become your friend. And then you're now quoting yourself, your reply. So you need that marker. So I shouted back at him, nothing special, man. Everything's cool. There. All right. So whoever is doing the talking in your story, you assume that person's identity. And you now voice out whatever that person said exactly. That is reported speech. Okay, let's now move on to part three. Whoa, expressing and justifying opinions. There. Let's try. There. Do you think cinema has increased or decreased in popularity in recent years? So that is actually that falls under two rhetorical functions. It can be expressing and justifying opinions, or it can be comparing and contrasting. There, it's up to you. No? So I'll try to sample that. So hopefully, guys, if you're trained enough, whenever you hear the examiner say something like this, then something's gonna ring in your head, and then you're gonna say to yourself, "Whoa, man, that could be a comparing and contrasting question." All right. So samples. Let's have samples. Key samples. So there. Come on, paste. Oh, it's not pasting. It's not copying. Let's go copy. Yeah. Do you think that cinemas increase or decrease in recent years? Let's go paste. There. Okay. Part three question. And then you go replying. Um, you know, well, some people might think that movies are going through a decline. If you ask me, so this is like decrease, right? Going through a decline. Yun yung decrease. If you ask me, um, this is all just temporary. And as soon as this pandemic is over, yeah, that's now comparing and contrasting. Ito yung crossover marker. There, if you ask me, as soon as this pandemic is over, we're gonna go back to the days when theaters would be packed with people watching a blockbuster movie. Okay, there. So that is a comparing and contrasting response. And take some practice. And then, in your opinion, will this trend continue in the future? Very typical of IELTS to ask future questions. So that is now the rhetorical function of speculating there. Speculating the future. There. Okay. All right. So you say something like, mm, mm, I think it would be easy to speculate that whatever we are seeing is only the beginning of what could be even bigger things for movies. Yeah. Mm, the box office records set by uh, the Avengers Endgame is really just the beginning. there. All right, etc., etc. So when you speculate, you use would or could, may, might, shall, should. You use the modals. That's in the document there. What is back? There, do you see that? The modals. Speculating, hypothesizing. You use modals. Modals are verbs that express possibility but not reality. So would, could, may, might, shall, should. How nice. So hopefully if you're trained enough, you hear a future question, modal time, it's a time for modals. There. Okay. And then what are the advantages and disadvantages of making films or of real life events? So clearly we're going back to the comparing and contrasting here. So this is how it goes. Where is it? There, comparing, contrasting. Let's go back there. So advantages there, and then you go into the crossover marker, and you go into the second value. Talking about the disadvantages, kind of like essay writing. And um, optionally, you may choose to solve the problem yourself using any of the problem solving techniques you've learned, right? A1, A2, B1, B2, B3. You can do that. Yeah, really nice. Although it's not as critical in the speaking test. There. So, all right. So, to begin with, it's clear that the advantages include the fact that people learn about events that took place in history. And this will quickly educate all viewers on this historical trend, historical, um, this is this historical narrative. Then marker. However, there some disadvantages may include the fact that the depiction we might see there, the depiction we might see, and there's so many of us already. The depiction we might see would actually turn out to be inaccurate, as in the case of many supposedly true to life films that in reality were just presented using the director's artistic liberties. There, that's a compare and contrast. Let's analyze the next. How important do you think it is for the filmmaker to remain true to the original story? Okay, so this is going back to expressing an opinion there. So expressing an opinion there. Just come up with a topic sentence, whatever that is, and then maybe you could say, yes, I agree. It's really very important. And then you just come up with supporting arguments. There are four types of them. The rationalization, which answers the question why. You don't really need to memorize these guys. I think this is really pretty self-explanatory. Everybody knows this already. What do you mean? Uh, for example, or you can use the hypothetical. There, let's try using the hypothetical as a supporting argument. So the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Wait, sorry, that wasn't the question. The question was, okay, here it goes. question was here. How important do you think it is for a filmmaker to remain true to the original story? So I'll come up with my topic sentence. I believe it certainly is of utmost importance. Okay. Uh, if, ayan, this is now the supporting argument. It's the hypothetical, marked by the conjunction if. If, for example, someone were to create a film based on a national hero and all its depictions turn out to be based in no historical uh, uh, fact, then the current generation may end up forming opinions that are in reality uh, merely fabrications. Yeah. So look at my if statement. No? Ang if kasi guys is two, uh, the if statement is composed of two elements. No? The first is the if element. People also call the if as a conditional there. So wait, what's happening? What's up? What's happening? Why did this come out? Yeah. So the if is actually composed of, where is it? Where is it? Yeah. I'm gonna go down here, guys. You the hypothetical. Yeah. So the if is composed of the condition and then the result. Okay. So the condition, make sure that the tense that you use for that is the past tense. So let's check out my example. If someone were, do you see that? If someone were to create a film based on a national and all its depictions turn out to be based in no historical fact, then we're now going into the results clause. And for that, we need to use the modals. Would, could, may, might, shall, or should. Here, so you can see that from the example. Then the current generation may there end up forming opinions that are reality merely fabrications. Take some practice, guys. Like if you were to win 1,000,000 pesos, what would you do with the money? Oh, diba? If you were to win 1,000,000 pesos, then what what would you do with the money? If you were to, if you had, past tense, if you had a chance to go back to the past, then what would you change in the past? Yan ang hypothetical. Nice. No? Listing, we already talked about that. Let's continue. See, should films and television be censored or should we be free to choose what we see? So, parang dalawa din yun, ano? Censored or freedom. Then you may answer it as a compare and contrast. Pero, dapat gamitan nyo ng modals, eh, no? Kasi, ayun, no, should. Should yung tanong, eh. There. There are indeed people who believe that censorship should be practiced by government so as to protect innocent viewers from any content that may be deemed harmful to their eyes. However, ayun na yung ano, compare and contrast. Others are avid believers in freedom of expression. And this is something that could bring out strong creative streaks and would advance the field of filmmaking. O yun, no? And then, so, ayan na yung two sides, di ba, guys? Yun. So, what you can now do is, uh, you go into your problem solver. Mag B3 tayo ng the compromise. If you were to ask me, oh, yun ang gondo. Then maybe I would recommend a balance by avoiding any form of censorship. Though theater owners would have the power to screen uh, any moviegoers based on the appropriate age as specified by government's regulators. Yon. Nice, no? Panis. Compare and contrast. Then let's find out the next one. How do you think censorship laws will change in the next 20 years? So guys, malinaw na it's a tough question. It's actually a speculative question. Pagka future, ganyan, speculative na yan. Ano? So guys, what you could do here is to now use the cheats. Do you see these cheats? Yan. So we talked about hedging your opinion already. We could use that. Let's go back to the original document. The hedge, based on my limited knowledge on the future, or admittedly, I haven't read much about the future of filmmaking, so I might just have to say that blah blah blah. But please don't take me too seriously. Lahat yun hedge. Learning a lot. Discourse repair is when you correct yourself. Feel free to correct yourself. You can correct your grammar. Nandito siya, guys. Nandito yung definition. Freely correcting yourself either linguistically or content-wise. Here. All right. Seeking clarification, we already talked about that. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what your question was. So could you kindly clarify that for me? Think aloud. This one is so nice. Giving voice to what's running in your head. So something like, whoa, that's a difficult question, sir. That's what you call a think aloud. Whatever is running in your head. Sidebar is suddenly injecting information on the side. It's not really the main response. You're just injecting it on the side. So, for example, the question is something like, do you think, what was the question? Should television and films be censored or should we be, wait. No, that's not the question. The question was that one. How do you think censorship laws will change in the next 20 years? So, yeah. So you can go into a sidebar before you answer the question. That's why we call it a cheat. So you say something like, that question was asked when I was still in college. That was one of the topics when in my philosophy class. But in answer to your question, sidebar yon. Nice, no? Cheat yon. It's a very effective way of delaying your response. It's like in the Miss Universe pageant. They will say something like, thank you very much for such an interesting question. Sidebar yon. Nice, no? And gap fill, yeah, like these expressions like, yeah, like, kinda, whatever. These are fillers. Okay. Then paraphrasing or synonymity, saying the same thing you just said, but rephrase for clarity and for beautification. Hmm. Let's have an example of paraphrasing. Something like, question was, how do you think censorship laws will change in the next 20 years? Alam mo, mag-hedge na ako pagka ganyan. Yan, um, that's always a tough question. Yeah, for anyone to answer. That's what you call a sidebar for anyone to answer. And ito, mag-hedge na ako. Uh, I might come up with uh, an uninformed response, given that I haven't really read up much on this topic. Ganda niyan, guys. Hindi kayo sumagot ng ganyan. But since I have to answer, then what I'll have to say is that because the world is moving towards more liberal values, then I do believe that even in half that time, we would be seeing quite normally pornography in your common uh, movie house, and no one would even mind. But again, that's just mm, an opinion that has no basis in fact. There, nice, no? So I guess uh, actually, I in there was an interview of me that came out in hmm nasa ano yung YouTube page. I think that was Cambridge 7. Yun, in-interview ako ni Mai. Ang napansin ko, si Mai Esquadra, who scored band 7. Napansin ko sa sarili ko, sa hilig ko mag-cheat. Yun, mga ganyan. Ang hilig ko dyan, in fact, part 1 pa lang yung tanong, nag-cheat na ako. Do you follow? Those are the rhetorical functions. I'll send you this document, guys. Ang beautiful and cheap. No? Yung mga red, guys. Solid yung mga red. And if you have those abilities, I'll go a long way. Pero yung cheat, make it a part of you. Yan. In linguistic terms, that is called circumlocution. Nice. No? So, finally, let's sample one more set. Cambridge 3. Okay. So guys, it takes practice. So I would recommend that you go to a Cambridge material and scroll the way down to the speaking section. It's the reading test. Secrets of the Forest. Yes, no, not given. That was a lot. Reading passage 3, highs and lows. I saw another yes, no, not given. That's the writing test. And voila, speaking test. So what would you suggest a visitor should see and do in your country? So guys, I'll give you a very quick tip. Kung ano yung tense, yun din yung, kung ano yung tense sa tanong, yun din yung tense sa sagot. Okay. Alright. Wait. Okay. Habol if you can. Alright. So what would you suggest a visitor should see and do in your country? Then takes practice. And so you say something like, if a visitor, mag-hypothetical ako. Yeah, if a visitor would go visit my country, I really would recommend that they go to Barak. I was told that it's one of the best beaches in the world, so they should try to experience that beach in particular. They shouldn't miss it at all. And then, are there any traditional arts or music you would recommend? Ayun na naman yung would. Mag-hedge na ako dito, guys. So, ang hilig ko mag-hedge. Ang hilig ko mag-cheat. And so I would say, to be honest, I'm a Filipino, but I'm not really very much into the traditional arts or music of my own country. I mean, it's funny. I'm even more familiar with foreign music than I am with the local music. But if there would be, hypothetical now, if there would be somebody who would ask me that question, and I would always recommend whichever traditional art or music that a particular location practices, they should go into it. Yeah. Then tell me about the kind of foreign visitors or tourists who go to your country. So, guys, that's like a listing question. So I would say something like, there are quite a number of visitors or tourists who go to my country. Number one, ayun, listing na yan. Many of them are quite are Caucasians. They come from the wealthy West, and they could be either Europeans or Americans. And but the common thing they all share in common is they all have a lot of money. And then another kind of visitor I would maybe include in this list are those who visit the country for the purpose of business. So you have the businessman type of visitors. After all, we are a growing economy. There's a lot of opportunity. And still, a third kind of visitor is the local visitor. I can say that a lot of our countrymen really make it a point to go around all the various locations at least once in their life. It's a bucket list. And then listing. And then in what ways has tourism changed your country? So guys, listing na nga siya, past tense pa. Basta always mark the tense. Ha? Watch out for the tense. So I would say something like, I think tourism has changed a lot because first of all, it has received a lot of government funding and support. So there now are a lot of mm, very famous destinations that are worth going to, that have all the creature comforts of modernity and yet are quite exotic and very local in their feel. Ganun. Stuff like that. Apart from that, stuff like that. And maybe another way tourism has changed is blah, blah, blah. Alright? So, hindi yung sagot ang nasagot, guys, ha? So, describe a memorable event in your life, when the event took place, where the event took place, what happened exactly, and explain why this event was memorable for you. So one thing that strikes me is it's all in the past. No? So watch out for your past tenses. I keep saying, and then yung fluency and coherence niya, guys. Part two is not really hard because you can really see the questions there, and then you're even given time to prepare your answer, no? Diba? So just don't rush your answer. You just go through it. Remember, fluency is not speed; it's stability. There. Just go through it in a relaxed manner. Try to make it. Try to make every response as descriptive as possible. There. And then if there's still a lot of time, then you could just go back to the beginning, and then you say, aside from that, there's another memorable event I wanna, stuff like that. Part 3 na tayo. Abstracts. I forgot to emphasize. Part 3. Abstracts. Here. Not based on reality, but possibility. Parang modals. Abstracts. How important are ceremonies in our lives? Oof, cheating time na to, guys. Yeah. sabihin ko na, you're the only one who ever asked me that question, so I'll try my best to answer it as best as I can. I think one reason is that it marks a very special time in our lives and it's worth commemorating. We should have photos and we should invite people, we should have food and everything. That's one reason. Another possible reason is blah, 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 blah. And then do you see the role of private and public ceremonies changing in the future? So guys, it's a compare and contrast. So public ceremonies refer to government events. Hala, pag di mo naintindihan yun, seek clarification yun, guys. You say something like, when you say public ceremonies, I'm sorry, I just don't understand what that term means. Could you clarify that for me? I want to give a good answer. Kaya lang ako mismo, I understand what it means. So, of course, a private ceremony is private. In a public ceremony is one that's funded by the government. There. So, compare and contrast. Yeah. And changing in the future. So, speculative to guys. It's cheating time. Yeah. So, I would say something like, I'm not really sure how it's going to change. Maybe it could change, but if you were to ask me, I believe it would just remain the same. Nothing much would ever change. You follow? And then crossover because of private. However, for private ceremonies, I think private people are more, shall we say, um, they're more experimental. They would like to go into non-traditional forms of ceremonies that would somehow make the event even more stand out. Blah blah blah. Attitudes to marriage. Have attitudes to marriage changed in recent years? Bumalik na naman sa past tense. No, guys. Watch out for the tense. And in what ways do men and women feel differently about marriage in your opinion? So it's a compare and contrast. It's time for speculative na naman. No? Yun, I'm not really sure, but maybe what I can say is that women are more liberated nowadays. They don't really feel that they have to marry anymore. On the other hand, ganun. Follow. It's really like it has to click very fast in your head, guys. When you hear the question, alam na kung anong klaseng tanong yun. And what sort of national events make headlines in your country? So listing, no? And then events of national global significance. Yun. So just list a number of events and speculative pa rin. I don't really read the news much, to be honest with you, but maybe what I can say is magana. And does the media in your country pay more attention to global or national events? Again, it's a compare and contrast. And then it's speculative time, cheating time. Very quick. Huh? Identify it very quick. Pero if you notice, pagdating sa part 3, cheating time. Daming cheats. No? Of all the skills, this is what you should have. The cheats. Circumlocution skills. Okay. Follow. So guys, I'll save this video on YouTube and then at the same time, I'll show you that other video where my esquadra interviewed me there for, I think that was a Cambridge 7 question test. And then I listened to myself and I realized that I do use a lot of cheats all the time. So now what I would like you to do is like just go to the internet and type like randomly like IELTS speaking test and then just go through as many part 1, part 2, and part 3 questions as you can. Read through them and try to identify quickly what is the rhetorical function. Is that clear? Make it very clear in your head. It's a game. No? Identify the rhetorical function game. So once you identify the rhetorical function, like, oh my God, it's a compare and contrast, it's a listing type of question, it's a speculative type of question, it's a past tense question, use the would and the could, stuff like that. As soon as you get used to quickly identifying the rhetorical function, the next step is to train yourself how to answer these questions. That's it. And then repeat the process again. Look at all the question types. Remember, we live in the world of the internet. You can see millions of questions on the speaking test. Identify the rhetorical function, drill the response to the rhetorical function. That's what you do. And soon enough, guys, panis ang 8. Yan. Even a band 8 is not difficult anymore. Okay? Let me remind everybody, the drill is the key. So whenever you're free, just message me, ask me, is there a bubble ongoing, sir? Then I'll tell you, yeah, you can just listen in or you can join in this time or whatever. All right. Like, for example, today, this is what we call the closed group bubble, right? We always do speaking for the closed group bubble with the exception of today because I have this lecture. It's daily, guys. You gotta do it every day. All right. Find time. Okay. Find time for the future. Remember, whatever country you want to go to, maybe with the exception of Canada, whatever country that is, Ireland, UK, US, Australia, New Zealand, band 7 ang required dun sa speaking, not lower. So drill it to death, people. Okay, drill it to death. I'll send you this document, TRF, and then I will send you this lecture on the TRF. Okay, I'm stopping the recording, guys, and then let's have questions.